Where does yeast naturally come from? Breaking news for beer enthusiasts. The question on many minds today is, where does yeast naturally come from? As the craft beer scene continues to grow, understanding yeast's origins is essential for brewers and drinkers alike. If you are curious about the role of yeast in your favorite brews, you are in the right place. Yeast is a type of fungus that exists in numerous environments. It plays a vital role in fermentation, turning sugars into alcohol and carbon dioxide. You might be surprised to learn that yeast can be found on the skins of fruits, grains, and plants. It also thrives in soil and on surfaces exposed to air. In fact, wild yeast strains have been around for thousands of years. They were used in traditional brewing long before commercial yeast strains were developed. Many brewers today still tap into these natural sources for their fermentation processes. When brewing beer, yeast is often introduced from natural sources like malted grains or even from the air during spontaneous fermentation. Some traditional beer styles, such as lambics, relying on wild yeast and bacteria from the brewery environment. This unique method gives these beers their distinct flavors. Commercial brewers typically use cultivated yeast strains that are selected for their fermentation properties. However, these cultivated strains originally come from wild yeast found in nature. This connection to the environment is what makes brewing such a fascinating craft. So, where does yeast naturally come from? The answer lies in the environment around us. Yeast can be found on fruits, grains, plants, soil, and even in the air. Brewers harness these natural yeast populations or use cultivated descendants to create beer and other fermented beverages. As the craft beer movement continues to thrive, understanding the origins of yeast can enhance your appreciation for the brewing process. Whether you are a home brewer or a craft beer lover, knowing where yeast comes from adds depth to your drinking experience. So next time you enjoy a cold brew, think about the natural elements that contributed to its creation.